Jamal Washington was 24 years old and standing in a hospital room watching his girlfriend hold their newborn daughter when he realized that the overwhelming love he felt was matched by an equally overwhelming terror, because his own father had walked out when he was 3, and Jamal had spent his entire life with no blueprint, no model, no memory of a father's hands showing him how to be one, only the certainty that he did not know how to do this. What happened after he whispered those words at midnight on a gas station curb, and a biker named Earl sat down beside him, after the Black Knight's MC took him in and taught him that fatherhood was learned, not inherited, and after Jamal became the mentor who now teaches other lost young fathers, proved that the cycle of fatherlessness can be broken. One man, one lesson, one coffee, at midnight at a time. Jamal Washington was 24 years old when his daughter was born, and he had never been more terrified in his life. He stood in the hospital room, watching his girlfriend Keisha hold their baby girl, and felt something crack open in his chest. Love, yes. Overwhelming, immediate, fierce love for this tiny person who had just entered the world. But underneath that love was something else. Fear, because Jamal had no idea how to be a father. His own father had left when Jamal was 3 years old, just walked out one morning and never came back. No explanation, no goodbye, no birthday cards or phone calls or any indication that he remembered he had a son. Jamal had grown up watching other kids with their dads, at Little League games, at school plays, at father-son events he never attended because he had no father to bring. He had learned early that some kids had dads and some kids did not, and he was one of the ones who did not. His mother had done her best, had worked 2 jobs to keep them housed and fed, had tried to be both parents at once. But she could not teach him what she did not know, could not show him how to be a man, how to be a father, how to do the thing he was now expected to do. Keisha looked up at him with tired, happy eyes and asked if he wanted to hold his daughter. Jamal said yes, but inside he was thinking, I do not know how to do this. They named her Maya. Maya Renee Washington. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. 10 fingers, 10 toes. A full head of dark curly hair. Perfect in every way that a baby could be perfect. Jamal loved her instantly, but love did not translate into knowing what to do. The first night home from the hospital, Maya cried for 3 hours straight. Jamal stood in the nursery, holding her the way the nurses had shown him, bouncing gently, making shushing sounds, doing everything he could think of. Nothing worked. Keisha was exhausted, recovering from the delivery, needed sleep more than anything. Jamal told her he would handle it. He wanted to handle it, wanted to prove that he could be the father Maya deserved. But Maya kept crying, and Jamal felt himself starting to crack. He carried her to the window, looked out at the dark street, and whispered something he had never said out loud. I do not know how to be a father. The words felt like a confession, like an admission of failure before he had even really started. He had no model to follow, no blueprint to reference, no memory of a father's hands showing him how to hold a baby, or change a diaper, or make everything okay. He was supposed to be strong, was supposed to know what to do, was supposed to be the father his own father had never been. But all he felt was lost. Hit subscribe if you believe that every man deserves a chance to learn how to be the father he never had. Comment where you're watching from, and share this with someone who needs to know that not knowing is not the same as not caring. 2 weeks later, Jamal was at a gas station at midnight. He had escaped the apartment for an hour, needed air, needed space, needed to not hear crying for just a few minutes. He was exhausted in ways he had not known were possible. Running on 3 hours of sleep, max, for 14 days straight. He sat on the curb outside the gas station, head in his hands, trying to hold himself together. That was when the motorcycle pulled up. The man who got off was maybe 55, 60 years old, black, with salt and pepper in his beard, wearing a leather vest covered in patches. He was big, solid, the kind of presence that made you pay attention. He finished at the pump, glanced over at Jamal, and paused. Something in his eyes shifted. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. He walked over and asked if Jamal was okay. Jamal almost said yes. Almost gave the automatic response, the one that meant leave me alone. I am fine. I do not need help. But something stopped him. Maybe the exhaustion. Maybe the desperation. Maybe just the fact that this stranger had bothered to ask. He said he had a newborn at home. Said he had not slept in 2 weeks. Said he did not know what he was doing and was scared he was going to mess everything up. The older man nodded slowly. He said his name was Earl. Earl Jackson. Said he had been exactly where Jamal was, 30 years ago. Said he had messed up plenty, but he had also learned some things along the way. He asked Jamal if he wanted to get coffee. Earl Jackson was 58 years old and had been riding with the Black Knights MC for 31 years. He had raised 4 children, had made every mistake a father could make, had learned, slowly, painfully, how to be the kind of father his own dad had never been. His father had been present but absent, in the house, but never really there. Working, drinking, watching TV. Never playing catch. Never helping with homework. Never saying I love you or I'm proud of you. Earl had sworn he would be different. And then, when his first child was born, he realized he had no idea how. He told Jamal this over coffee at a 24-hour diner. Told him about the fear, the inadequacy, the shame of not knowing things that other men seemed to know instinctively. He told him that the shame was a lie. Nobody knew how to be a father instinctively. The men who seemed to know had been taught. By their own fathers, by uncles, by coaches, by someone. The men who had not been taught were not broken or defective. They just needed someone to show them. Earl had found that someone in the Black Knights, older brothers who had been where he was, men who shared their hard-won wisdom, who admitted their failures, who showed him that fatherhood was not about being perfect. It was about showing up, learning, trying again when you failed. He looked at Jamal across the diner table. He said he could be that for Jamal, if Jamal wanted, could show him what he had learned, could help him become the father he wanted to be. Jamal felt something loosen in his chest, the first relief he had felt since Maya was born. He said yes. If you're enjoying this story, hit that hype button right now. It's free, takes a second, and helps this video reach more people who need to see it. Now back to the story. Earl started coming by the apartment, not every day. He had his own life, his own responsibilities. But 2 or 3 times a week he would show up, usually with food for Keisha and practical help for Jamal. He taught Jamal how to hold Maya so she felt secure, how to swaddle her tight the way babies liked, how to recognize the difference between a hungry cry and a tired cry, and an I just need to be held cry. He taught him how to change a diaper without making a mess, how to give a bath without being terrified of dropping her, how to rock her to sleep with a rhythm that actually worked. Basic things. Things that fathers usually learned from their own fathers. Things that Jamal had never had anyone to teach him. But Earl taught him more than practical skills. He taught him that it was okay to be scared. That fear meant you cared. That it meant you understood the weight of what you were doing. He taught him that making mistakes did not make you a bad father. That every father made mistakes. What mattered was what you did after. He taught him that being present was the most important thing. Not being perfect. Not having all the answers. Just being there consistently day after day, showing your child that they could count on you. He taught him that love was a verb, something you did, not just something you felt. And slowly, Jamal started to believe that maybe he could do this. Keisha noticed the change. She had been worried about Jamal since Maya was born, had seen the fear in his eyes, the way he hesitated before picking up their daughter, the tension in his body when she cried. She knew his history, knew he had never had a father to show him the way. But something was shifting. Jamal was more confident now, more relaxed. He picked up Maya without hesitating, changed her diapers without Keisha having to ask, got up in the middle of the night and actually seemed to know what to do. She asked him what had changed. Jamal told her about Earl, about the gas station and the coffee and the lessons that had been coming ever since, about finding the father figure he had never had at exactly the moment he needed one most. Keisha cried. Not sad tears, grateful tears. The tears of a woman who had been carrying worry alongside exhaustion and was finally able to set some of it down. She asked if she could meet Earl. Jamal said, of course. Said Earl was coming by that weekend. Said he wanted Keisha to meet the man who was teaching him how to be a father. If Bike Diaries has become part of your week, consider joining the channel membership. At just a couple bucks a month keeps these stories coming. Links below. And hit that hype button if you haven't already. Now back to the story. Earl came by on Saturday with 2 other members of the Black Knights. They brought groceries and diapers and a bag of baby clothes that the club had collected. They sat in the small apartment and passed Maya around. These big men in leather vests cooing at a newborn, like she was the most precious thing in the world. Because to them, she was. The Black Knights had a fatherhood program. Earl had started it 15 years ago, after watching too many young men struggle the way he had struggled. They paired experienced fathers with new ones, provided mentorship and support, helped break the cycle of fatherlessness, one relationship at a time. Jamal was not their first mentee. He would not be their last. Earl introduced Jamal to the other fathers in the program, men who had been where he was, men who had grown up without dads and were now raising children of their own, men who understood the fear and the shame and the overwhelming desire to do better than what had been done to them. They met once a week at the clubhouse, not for drinking or partying, for talking, for sharing, for learning from each other's mistakes and celebrating each other's victories. Jamal found himself looking forward to those meetings, found himself opening up in ways he never had before, found himself surrounded by men who got it, who did not judge, who were walking the same path he was walking. He was not alone anymore. Maya's first birthday arrived faster than Jamal expected. 1 year. 365 days of feedings and diaper changes, and sleepless nights, and first smiles and first words and first steps. A year of learning, of growing, of becoming the father he had been terrified he could not be. Earl and the Black Knights threw a party at the clubhouse. Decorations and cake and presents and 50 people who had become family over the past 12 months. Maya toddled around in her little dress, not understanding what the fuss was about, but loving the attention. Jamal watched her and felt something he had not felt in a long time. Pride, not just in Maya, though he was endlessly proud of her. Pride in himself, in how far he had come, in the father he was becoming. He had not become his own father, had not disappeared, had not walked out when things got hard. He had stayed, had learned, had done the work, and he had done it because someone had shown him how. Earl found him standing by the window, watching Maya play with the other kids. He did not say anything, just stood beside him. 2 men watching a little girl who would never know what it meant to grow up without a father. Jamal said thank you, said it was not enough, but it was all he had. Earl said it was more than enough. Said watching Jamal become a father was the reward. Said breaking the cycle was why he did this work. Then he told Jamal something that landed deep. He said someday, Jamal would be the one teaching another young man, would be the one sitting at a diner at midnight, offering to show someone what he had learned. The cycle of fatherlessness could only be broken if men who had learned were willing to teach. Jamal said he would pay it forward, said he would never forget what Earl had given him. 5 years later, Jamal was at a gas station at midnight, not because he was escaping, not because he was overwhelmed, just filling up his tank on the way home from work, tired but content, thinking about Maya waiting for him. She was 6 now, starting first grade in the fall, smart and curious, and so loved that she radiated confidence. She had never once doubted that her father would be there for her, because he always was. Jamal noticed a young man sitting on the curb outside the gas station, head in his hands, shoulders shaking, the posture of someone who was falling apart. He finished at the pump and walked over. He asked the young man if he was okay. The young man looked up, early 20s, exhausted, terrified. He said he had a baby at home, said he had not slept in weeks, said he did not know what he was doing, and was scared he was going to fail. Jamal sat down on the curb beside him. He said his name was Jamal. Said he had been exactly where this young man was 5 years ago. Said he had felt lost and scared and completely unprepared. He asked the young man if he wanted to get coffee. The young man said yes, and the cycle continued. Jamal was 36 now, a father of 3. Maya was 12. Her brother Marcus was 8. Her baby sister Zoe was 2. 3 children who had never once doubted that their father loved them, that their father would be there, that their father knew how to hold them when they cried. Jamal still rode with the Black Knights, had earned his full patch years ago. He ran the fatherhood program now, Earl having stepped back to let younger men lead. But Earl was still around, still showed up at meetings, still gave Jamal advice when he needed it. The program had grown. What started as informal mentorship had become a structured initiative, partnering with hospitals and social services to identify new fathers who might need support. They had mentored over 200 men in the past decade, 200 fathers who might have given up, might have walked away, might have repeated the cycle of absence. Instead, they stayed, they learned, they became the fathers their children needed. Jamal kept a photo on his desk at work. It was from Maya's first birthday. Earl standing beside him at the clubhouse window. 2 men watching a little girl who would never know what it meant to grow up without a father. He looked at that photo when things got hard, when he doubted himself, when the old fear crept back in and whispered that he did not know what he was doing. The photo reminded him that nobody knew at first, that fatherhood was learned, not inherited, that the men who became great fathers were the ones who were willing to admit they did not know, and then find someone to teach them. His own father had never taught him anything, had given him nothing except absence and questions that would never be answered. But Earl had taught him everything, had given him the blueprint he needed, had shown him that the cycle could be broken. And now, Jamal was teaching others, passing on what he had received, making sure that the next generation of fathers had something his generation had not. A model, a mentor, a man who had been there and could show the way. Thank you for watching this story about a young father who whispered that he did not know how to be a father, and the biker who showed him how. It was inspired by the real men who break cycles of fatherlessness and the mentors who make that possible. If you grew up without a father, know that your past does not have to be your children's future. Not knowing how to be a father is not failure, it is a starting point. What matters is being willing to learn. If you are an experienced father, consider mentoring someone who did not have what you had. Your knowledge could break a generational cycle. Your time could change a family tree forever. The National Fatherhood Initiative and Fathers Incorporated offer resources for men who want to become better fathers. Big Brothers, Big Sisters provides mentorship for young people who need father figures. Subscribe to Bike Diaries. Hit that hype button to boost this video. And if you want to support what we do, the membership link is below. Share this with every man who needs to remember that fatherhood is learned, not inherited, and that it is never too late to become the father your children deserve. Jamal Washington is 36 now. He has been married to Keisha for 11 years. Their 3 children have never doubted that their father loves them. Earl Jackson is 70 years old. He still rides with the Black Knights, still shows up at fatherhood meetings, still watches the young men he mentored become mentors themselves. And somewhere tonight, a young father is sitting on a curb at a gas station, head in his hands, terrified that he does not know how to do this. Someone is about to ask if he wants to get coffee. The cycle continues to break.